Fletcher had 12 years of experience, published work, a reputation people trusted. But the moment a beginner looked at him and said, "Can you teach me how you do that?" Alone, Fletcher was precise, thorough. He solved problems most people didn't even see yet. But competence for Fletcher only survived in private. The moment someone watched him be good at something, especially someone who was just starting out, the math inside his head changed. The more they trusted him, the less he trusted himself, as if their belief in him was evidence he'd fabricated something he couldn't locate. Classic imposter syndrome says, "I'm not as good as people think I am." But Fletcher's version was more specific, more surgical. He didn't feel like a fraud around his peers. He could hold his own in a room of equals. It was beginners, people who looked at him without skepticism, that made him unravel. Because beginners are mirrors with no scratches. They reflect back a version of you that's unquestioned, idealized. And when what they see doesn't match what you feel, the gap becomes unbearable. Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes, who first named the imposter phenomenon, found that it intensifies not when you fail, but when you succeed in front of an audience that believes in you. The applause becomes the accusation. And there's a deeper layer. Psychologists call it the expert's paradox. The more you learn about a subject, the more you see what you don't know. Beginners see a mountain of knowledge. Experts see the holes in the mountain. Fletcher wasn't less capable than beginners thought. He was more aware of his own gaps, and he mistook that awareness for evidence of fraud. So every time a beginner trusted him, it wasn't flattering. It was terrifying, because their trust assumed a completeness he knew he didn't have. And instead of understanding that no one does, he concluded he was the only one pretending. The shift didn't come from praise or a pep talk. It came from a beginner's mistake. And without thinking, Fletcher said, "I got that wrong for 2 years before it clicked." He expected the room to shrink, to lose respect. Instead, they leaned in closer. And that's what finally separated the imposter from the expert in his head. An imposter hides the gaps. An expert knows the gaps are the curriculum. You don't feel like a fraud because you're not good enough. You feel like a fraud because you're honest enough to see what's missing, and you assume that honesty was a confession. But the people who look up to you, they're not looking for someone without gaps. They're looking for someone willing to stand in front of them anyway. If you've ever felt more like a fraud in front of someone who believed in you, comment "teach" or "fraud." And if someone you respect keeps deflecting praise like it burns, they've earned it more than they think. Expertise was never the absence of doubt. It was the decision to show up before the doubt clears.